What does he have?
Blood.
Where?
Blood. Blood.
Yeah, we get it. This is by far the strongest Necro build in the game, and the only current build that stands a chance against those cringe, spirit-born players. And holy shit, is it a fun build? And what build is it? It's of course Seroc's Bloodwave Surfer build with a bit of gameplay from Mr. Blurosity. So cowabunga, my man, because if you don't play this build, then you hate cats. Now there are so many lovely interactions that goes into making this build, so let's cover them all with ease, so you can start progressing towards it in the end game. For starters, how does the damage work? Because Bloodwave doesn't do shit in this build when it comes to damage. In fact, none of the skills on our bars does. Are you cheating, Mr. Perragaming, or where the hell does the damage come from? It comes from Bonus Spirit, in fact, and this is done via the Blood Artisan's Cuirass. By picking up blood orbs, we in turn form a Bonus Spirit. Not only that though, its damage also stacks via max life, so we want a buttload of that. But okay, so where does the blood orbs come from? Oh, my beautiful friend. Via Bloodwave, of course. Each time we summon them, we gain a buttload of blood orbs in return. And to pick them up, we use the Gore Quills aspect in combination with Bloodlance. Doing this, you now have boners flying all over the goddamn place, including my mouthweight who the hell said that.
Yummers.
Anyhow, all we now need to understand is how to reset the blood waves so we can keep spamming it, and you'll understand the build because all the other skills are easy to understand. We have Corpse Tendrils to pull enemies in and gain vulnerable, Decrepify for cooldown resets and damage reduction, and Blight for an additional damage bonus. So how do we reset the blood waves? Let's check out the gear and aspects and find out, shall we? For starters, I have several versions here. This is the full Big Dick Uber setup, and this is the Dogshit Noobie setup. You can start with the Dogshit Noobie setup and transition into the Uber version when you've decided to stop sucking at this game. If you're playing the Uber version, then Shaco is the name of the game. This is due to the humongous amount of cooldown reduction it brings. If you don't have Shaco, then you prioritize cooldown reduction on your helmet. The more cooldown reduction, the easier it is to reset Blood Wave. On the bloody chest, Prio the bonus spirit ranks. The title aspect is another godly one. Firing 2 additional waves, we in turn get additional blood orbs, since each blood wave spawns 6 orbs. When you combine this with the fast blood aspect that reduces the cooldown of blood wave depending on how many blood orbs you pick up, you get that 0 cooldown blood wave we were talking about. Absolutely lovely. For the pantaloonies, you slap on the hardened bones aspect real good and get a bunch of armor to get that cap sorted. The concussive strikes aspect is also a godly one, gaining massive damage from an utility aspect. And then we have the weapon. Either you go for the Coombringer for survivability, assuming you have it, or you slap on the grasping veins aspect for big damn. Whatever you choose to do, I don't really give a shit. For the offhand, though, we want the Gore Quills aspect as to not run around and pick up the blood orbs by ourselves. Because Necro players are lazy as hell, that's just a fact. We can also temper bonus spirit deals double damage this season, which is a damn big damage upgrade. When it comes to the amulet, the imperfectly balanced passive is bonkers for big damn. 5% damage per rank, yes thank you. It's also possible to grab cooldown reduction if you need it, but either way, you should look to temper ultimate cooldown reduction as to get that 75% cooldown reduction sorted. 1 per jewelry and you're Gucci. But there is also another factor to consider here that is damn important. You must get a good roll on the fast blood aspect. The cooldown reduction it brings is just humongous if the roll is good, and if it's not, then well, it's dog shit. We're also using Starless Skies here. If you don't have it, which you probably don't, then you go for Aspect of Serration and the Sacrificial aspect for massive damage. Well, damn, will you look at that? We managed to clear the gear and aspects. And what about the runes? The best in slot ones are Warcry and Max Life, where we typically stand still and blast out a bunch of ultimates. If you don't have it, then just wing it and pick some useful runes. For the minions, we sacrifice all of them because fuck 'em, where we pick up the crit chance, damage against vulnerable, and crit damage. And finally, the mercenaries. This also depends on what you're playing, but typically, Rahir is great for most content. On all my builds, I also recommend Subo for content such as Pit, Helltides, and Undercity. But at the same time, he's useless in hordes, so there you can go for the Cannibal's Harpoons. Hey, will you look at that? It's skill tree of fucking clock, and you know it, baby. Drop a wet fart on the basic skills as per usual, and we'll grab Bloodlance instead along with a bunch of passives for more damage, and then Supernatural Blight for, yep, even more damage. We then have Blood Mist. If you have Shaco, then you don't need any points in it. If you don't have Shaco, then you need to actually invest a skill point here. You then grab some boring-ass passives, followed by even more boring-ass passives, granting us damage and defensives. Decrepify is great though. Damage reduction, crowd control, and cooldown reduction. Yummers. Next we go to pick up Corpse Tendrils for gathering enemies and vulnerable, along with Necrotic Carapace, which is our source of Fortify. We then have Bonus Spirit for the Big Dam, and some additional Big Dam passives right here. Now in Season 6 we can grab additional points in Ultimates, which reduces its cooldown, which is lovely. We then grab Primal Blood Wave and Supreme Blood Wave for damage reduction and our Blood Orbs. And also some great passives here, followed by the key passive. Here we go for Ossified Essence to scale that bad boy Bonus Spirit with ease. Well, damn. Skill tree complete. What do you say we check out the Perragons? Fine, I'll allow it. Here we start with Sacrificial for the damage boost, followed by grabbing Bone Graft for the damage bonus. We then have some Maximum Essence for more damage via Bone Spirit and the key passive, followed by the Essence Glyph for the damage bonus. After that, we go to pick up Blood Begets Blood, which is simply one of the best nodes in the game, and Socket Exploit for the damage bonus. We then want Scent of Death for damage reduction or damage, and Socket Control Real Good for the highest damage multiplier possible. And finally, Frailty, which is yet another massive multiplier along with the Corporeal Glyph. Nicely done, friends. That's the Perragons. Let's finish off by getting hecking good right about now. The build is simple, yet beautiful. For longer fights, you can use Corpse Tendrils. When speed farming, though, you typically just run around and bust out blood waves, though. You also want to make sure to keep Decrepify up on your enemies, as it both grants you the skill tree bonuses, but also the damage bonus from Frailty in the Perragons. The same goes for Blight as with Corpse Tendrils. Use it if you need damage. Other than that, though, you just blast the keyboard as hard as possible with your forehead and dominate the entire game. Bust out a few blood waves, pick up the orbs via Bloodlance, and repeat. It's just that simple, folks. Alright friends, that's all for this one. Drop a sub to me, to Serok, and enjoy the build.